Hi, it's Bear With Me, and today I'm doing my second sketchbook tour. On the front of the cover, I have Alfie, one of my favorite characters that came from the sketchbook. Bear with me as this is my first audio, so let's get into it. On this, I just have some post-it doodles I've done over the year, but I started this book in 2024 with my characters that I designed for a specific song, Molly and Graham. They're my only couple characters, surprisingly, at the moment, and they're both themed after s'mores. Graham's a graham cracker and Molly's a marshmallow. And here we dip our toes into the first beginning of my circus bears. This is Slushy, she's themed after a snow cone, and Peanut, he's the ringleader. Here's Jack, he was from an emoji challenge. I don't usually use him because he has darker colors and he doesn't blend well with the others. But here, this little guy is what started Alfie. He's a little mouse that is obsessed with balloons, and he works with the balloon carts, but he's too tiny to keep them down, so they usually float away. As right here, he is one of my favorite circus characters. This page is filled with fairy-themed things, from moth wings to butterflies, and in this corner over here, I have Moth Girl's character as a donut bear. This is just some of my whimsical woodland characters or drawings. I have mushrooms to deer and to this little lost puppy randomly. Here I was drawing some bears because, bear with me, I drew some with different perspectives. I don't know if I accomplished that, but I did draw this little guy eating a sunflower. Speaking of sunflowers, I have this whole page dedicated to them because I was drawing something for my best friend for her birthday, and then I had these little dogs. I didn't want that one to look lonely, so I gave them some sunflowers. And here was when I was doing a study on hares, bunnies, and rabbits. At that time, I was able to tell the difference, but now they all look like bunnies to me. This is where I jumped into fall way too early. I started drawing pumpkins and my ghost Oliver. This is just some of my sketches with some colored pencils, a little Goober Goober Sundae, and then all the way to a kite pop. These are just some of my loaf cats. I have Jerry and PJ. I have not named her, but she is definitely the mature one out of the three of the strawberry, peanut butter, and jelly crew. This is my Tim Burton page. I have from Nightmare Before Christmas, Corpse Bride, and Frankenweenie, some of my favorite holiday Halloween movies. This is for fall. This is my little squirrel, Andy. He collects acorns, of course, but he has a little acorn hat. I tried drawing him there in my normalized style, and that was a big no. Here are just some of the Barrowween costumes I did. That little guy had to be my favorite, but also I love Muffin, and I really like Indiana Jones, so that one also has to be one of my favorites. These are just some of my sketches slash doodles of my characters of mine. And this page I was testing animals I never drawn or made a character of. I've done a capybara. I tried doing goats. Each one looked freaky, and then I cannot pronounce this name, but they are adorable. Here I jumped the winter themed slightly too early in November, but I have a little reindeer, and then one of my favorite little sketches of Donut Bear in front of a Christmas tree. This was just a butt ton of doodles. I wanted to do this for a countdown, but I never got to it. Here's more Alfie, and then a little pigeon because I went to New York once and saw a butt ton of pigeons, so I had to make a character of a donut pigeon. Here's a little circus animal cookie of a childhood memory, a little Paddington, a rough sketch, and then awkward looking Remy. I drew a full space page of blueberries, and then here's another Alfie, using colored pencils to do sketches. Here's Muffin and his tiny little rabbit in space. Here are more of my circus bears. This is Dolly. She has gone through different color palettes. This is Betty and a very rough Alfie. These two are best friends and they both do different balloons. Betty does animal balloons. And over here I tried to do Cake, or aka Donut Bear, part of the circus, but I tried different color palettes. I landed on that one. And then I tried to draw a lion for my circus, and here's little Linus, 2 different sketches. Here's Wizard of Oz. I've read the book this year, and it is way different than the movie. I have Scarecrow, Tin Man, Lion, and Dorothy. She looks like a Who from The Grinch. And then we have a little Toto, and there's No Place Like Home. One of my things I wanted to do this year was draw people, so I've been attempting to draw people from young little kids to old people. Once I heard Zootopia 2 was coming out, I had to put my excitement on a piece of paper because I loved the first one. One of my favorite characters probably has to be Clawhauser. He's adorable. Here's some calico critters my sister owns. I tried doing them in Posca. I don't know how I like the palettes I did. They are neutral animals, not pink and purple. This is where I finally got my alcohol markers. Of course, I had to draw Alfie and Betty. I had to attempt to learn how to work with these. I drew Slushy over here and a random chicken and a little duck. I don't know if you can see it on here, but these are Donut Bears as cubs. Here's little Cake and little Cooper and little Molly and Graham, and one of my favorites is Muffin with his little bunny. Here are just some of the YouTuber bears sketches I've done. Here's some sparklers I've done, and then Mary Sketchbook's little Kobe Jack. Mermaid I did this year, a handful of them, but not all of them are in my sketchbook. Some are on random pieces of paper, but I did a handful in here. And you can see Elmo peeking through because I've had an obsession this year with Elmo, mostly with Elmo and Rocco. I threw in Kermit. He kind of threw the color palette off, but I still love this page. Here's more Molly and Graham. I've had struggles drawing them together because they're a couple, but I drew them over here together digitally, which is one of my favorites of them. Here are some Marvel characters. I did a spinning wheel of 100 to get different names. I think my best one is probably Spider-Man or Groot. My worst is probably Iron Man. He did not turn out. Or Ant-Man. I drew a tiny little Ant-Man though. Don't know if you could see that. Here is for the Sparkler sketchbook by Moth Girl. I put mine out, I think the day after she posted the post. So I have my sketches of different ones. She looks straight up mean. I have my list in likes. These are just some color pencils that are actually mechanical, which I really like because they don't pull up like graphite. This page is just filled with random donuts and loose pieces of art pieces. This is supposed to be further in the book, but I put it here. These are my pirate crew, Captain, Rupert, and Fiona. When I was younger, I used to love the Pirates of the Caribbean, so I knew I had to draw some pirates during the summer. This page, I did a study on bears and their anatomy. I tried to do this over here, the skeleton of a bear. This one didn't turn out so well, so I did this one again, which turned out much better. And then I put some facts, and then their giant little toe beans. This is when the How to Train Your Dragon movie came out, and I drew Toothless and his girl, I forget his name, and then his tail. These are just some of the Shopkins I used to have when I was little. I still have them somewhere, but these were my favorites. This is my honey page. I wanted to make a sweet queen bee, but in the end she ended up turning mean looking, but she has an adorable little bee, which I absolutely love. Here are some washi tape swatches. I tried them in different things. I drew some bears and clothes, and this one, I don't know how I feel about. This is where I bought 150 Prismacolors. I finally bit the bullet and bought the set. It looks so aesthetically pleasing until I realized I was missing one, and this guy is supposed to be over here somewhere, so I have a pet peeve that that's not lined up properly, but it looks real nice. Another childhood memory I did of Blue's Clues and the handy dandy notebook. I don't usually draw people with colors, so I was really proud of Steve. And this Blue over here, I absolutely adore her. Here are just some more people. And then here is some sketches for another birthday card. And then Apple Barrel does paint pens now, and they are really nice. I only did one layer on here, so they're very opaque. Here I did some black bears because apparently I don't have enough. This is for Barroween. This looks like a little Perry the Platypus. And then I was gonna draw a black bear as a camp counselor, but I was getting too lazy with the buttons and patches. This is just some washi tape I got from Hobby Lobby because I have a whole collection and a hoard of it. I redeemed myself with Dorothy, and I don't know if I redeemed myself with a Tin Man, Scarecrow, and Lion, but I definitely did with her. Again, I've read the book and it's totally different. I finally watched Brother Bear, and surprisingly I haven't seen it, but I finally watched it and I absolutely love his character. I forget his name, but he was adorable. Here again I jumped fall a little too early, but I wanted to draw a little mouse that was like a little borrower, and then I went to go draw him with a little button and it ended up looking like Captain America, so yeah. This is when I started to draw 100, so I drew 100 people in 10 days, 10 each day. So the next couple pages are just people. The ones with the tiny smiley faces are the ones you guys recommended. I finally hit 90, so I did the golden trio from Harry Potter, and then when I hit 100, I drew me as myself, cartoon. I bought another pack of Ohu, a 6-piece count, and they ended up being the perfect color for Donut Bear, so I drew her and a giant teddy bear, and then I drew myself again because the colors were perfect for my hair. I've been wanting to do a study on flowers. I kind of rushed this one because flowers don't excite me, but here are some. I could not name any of these if I could. I should have wrote, I'm pretty sure that's a sunflower. I should have wrote the name down. And here we are, the finished. I like drawing. My favorite things I did in the sketchbook. I started this June 2024, ended it September 23rd, 25. I drew Alfie and Betty, a s'mores to contribute to, Molly and Graham. I drew my love cat, and then I couldn't fit my whole circus bears, so I drew one of my favorite. I hope you enjoyed this video, and bear with me as I might try more videos with audio, so good luck to me. Thank you for watching, bye.